Welcome back to Watch the Booker Man. Before we go any further, this video does contain spoilers for the 2020 Royal Rumble, so if you haven't seen that show and don't want it spoiling, please do not watch any more of this video. The post-Royal Rumble episode of Raw begins with a look back at the events of the previous night's show via a series of stills. Charlotte Flair won the Women's Royal Rumble while Drew McIntyre eliminated the dominant Brock Lesnar before going on to win the men's match. Perhaps overshadowing both of those stories, however, was the return of Edge as he competed in a ring for the first time in almost 9 years. Live from the AT&T Center in San Antonio, Texas, the commentators welcome viewers to the show as Drew McIntyre makes his entrance. Drew cuts a promo on his career-defining victory at the Royal Rumble before calling out the WWE Champion Brock Lesnar. Drew is instead greeted by Paul Heyman, who tells McIntyre that Brock has already flown home. This, however, turns out to be a ruse as Drew McIntyre is jumped by the Beast as he reaches the stage. The two brawl back down the ramp, with Brock Lesnar throwing Drew McIntyre into the ring. McIntyre's speed once again catches Lesnar cold, and he is hit with a Claymore kick for the second time in under 24 hours. Again, Brock Lesnar is sent over the top and to the outside, furiously backing away as Drew McIntyre stands tall in the ring. Ahead of the opening match of the night, a graphic promotes the fact that Edge will appear on Raw tonight to address his future in the WWE. And off the back of their huge brawl at Royal Rumble last night, Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens and AOP kick off the night's action, a tag team match which ultimately goes to a disqualification. Buddy Murphy was at ringside for the match, while Seth Rollins was conspicuous by his absence. When the momentum seemed to be with Owens and Joe, Buddy Murphy got himself involved, the opening match turning into a 3-on-2 post-match beatdown. Buddy Murphy and AOP lay into Owens and Joe in the ring until Aleister Black makes the save. Hitting Murphy with a fade to black, the Amsterdam native turns the tide, allowing the three men to send Rollins' lackeys packing. Going to footage from earlier today, Lana is shown getting ready for the show in her dressing room, only to be assaulted by Liv Morgan once again. The two women were later escorted from the building and will not be present as Rusev and Bobby Lashley battle it out tonight. Coming off the back of their brawl last night in the parking lot, they'll have a parking lot brawl match later tonight. Scheduled to compete in the second match of the night, Ricochet only makes it as far as his entrance as he is attacked from behind by a furious Brock Lesnar. Ricochet had assisted Drew McIntyre in eliminating Brock at the Royal Rumble, and this appeared to be the basis of the champion's anger. Lesnar brutally beat down the youngster, who was later helped to the back and wouldn't be able to compete at this time in his scheduled match. As things got shuffled around, the commentators sent over to an interview with Natalya, who was joined by her best friend Beth Phoenix. Charlie Caruso put over the nasty injury that Beth Phoenix sustained the previous night, with Natalya praising the fight of her friend. Natalya then made a slight dig about Beth eliminating for the Rumble, but it was all in good fun, as Beth said that she'd have her partners back in the next match. Beth did have her friends back in the second match of the night, but it didn't help much as Asuka picked up a decisive submission victory, the perfect way to bounce back from her defeat to Becky Lynch at the Royal Rumble. Asuka didn't see it that way, however, and while she spoke in her native tongue, it was clear that she was very angry about what happened last night as she cut a post-match promo. Ending the first hour of Raw, there is a medical update provided on Ricochet with confirmation that he wouldn't be competing at all on tonight's show. Charlie Caruso did have some big news involving Ricochet, however. He would be competing at Super Showdown and his opponent would be Brock Lesnar. Returning to the second hour of the show, the parking lot where Rusev and Lashley will fight later is shown, with a car happening to pull up as the commentators explain the rules to the unique match. Stepping out of the car was Edge, who was set to appear later in the night. Edge entered the building and spoke to his long-term friend Randy Orton, Orton commenting on his elimination at the hands of Edge at the Royal Rumble the previous night, joking he'd have to get him back sometime. Of course, when it comes to a joke like that from Randy Orton, those threats aren't always to be taken lightly. Women's Royal Rumble winner Charlotte Flair picked up a decisive victory over Sarah Logan in the third match of the night, the commentators promoting that she would speak after the match. She did so, cutting a promo talking about both the Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion and saying that she has a decision to make. Eventually, she asked her friend Becky Lynch to come down to the ring, and when there was no answer, Charlotte was very confused, only for Becky to be shown on the big screen. The champion was, however, in no fit state to come to the ring, as she was in the process of being choked out. It quickly became clear that NXT's Shayna Baszler was the one with her arm around the neck of Becky Lynch, Flair running to the back to assist her friend. Coming back from the break, we see that Charlotte Flair has located Becky Lynch and Shayna Baszler, with the latter having formed a barricade between herself and Charlotte Flair to protect her. Baszler told Charlotte that last night's Royal Rumble belonged to her, and she wanted that spot at WrestleMania. Before the next match, Andrade and Zelina Vega joined commentary, Vega putting over Andrade's successful United States title defense at the Royal Rumble. The fourth match of the show saw Humberto Carrillo team with his idol Rey Mysterio, defeating the OC, who were without and looked lost with AJ Styles not being at ringside. It was noted that Styles sustained an injury at the Royal Rumble and therefore was not at the show. Humberto and Rey then had their post-match celebration overshadowed as their compatriot Andrade paraded the United States Championship at the top of the stage. Further promoting that match in the parking lot later, Rusev cut a manic promo. He, already in the parking lot, was waiting for Lashley and was ready to fight. Showing great chemistry, in a match that only didn't main event because of reasons that will become clear later on, Seth Rollins defeated Aleister Black in a long competitive match. While Black has picked up some good wins recently, this match proved that he is very, very close to that top level, performing so well that Rollins was visibly furious that he wasn't easier to put away. After the match, that translated into Seth bringing out AOP and Buddy Murphy, who hadn't been at ringside for the match, bringing them out from the back and initiating a beatdown on Aleister. Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe attempted to return the favour from earlier in the night, but were outnumbered by a factor of 2. The second hour of Raw ended with Seth Rollins' group standing tall in the ring, having left their enemies down and out. We come back to the third hour with a recap of the night's events so far, including those beatdowns from Brock Lesnar to Ricochet and the one we'd just seen. It was then time for the parking lot brawl. Barely even a match, more of an extended angle, though there was a referee. Lashley and Rusev fought for 10 minutes, using their environment in any which way they could. The two eventually brawled to the floor, with a number of superstars forming a crowd and cheering and jeering from the sidelines. As Rusev looked to get the better of Lashley and pulled himself up with the help of a car, that vehicle's door opened and was slammed into his face. Who was responsible was unknown, and we didn't find out as the car quickly drove off. Lashley was able to capitalise on this nonetheless, throwing Rusev through the windshield of another car. At this point, the referee declared the match was over, Rusev no longer able to respond to the referee. Back in the ring, Eric Rowan squashed Eric Young. The question remaining, what is in Rowan's cage? A comedic style segment followed that, the Street Profits giving a rundown of what happened at the Royal Rumble and spoke about how crazy the Road to WrestleMania had been already. This led into a video package of the opening segment of the show, with Drew McIntyre once again, he got the better of Brock Lesnar. Competing in the final match of the night, we see Drew McIntyre once again. He shows no signs of slowing down as he defeated Brock's old friend Shelton Benjamin in convincing fashion. After the match, he stood tall, waiting for Brock Lesnar to come out. I've put the wrong person there. That was supposed to be Drew McIntyre in the ring. He waits for Brock Lesnar, but Brock Lesnar is nowhere to be seen. Before Edge's appearance to close the show, the Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch is seen to have dusted herself off and responds to Shayna Baszler. Becky says that Baszler didn't have to go through Charlotte to get a shot at the title. After all, Charlotte isn't the champion, Becky is. Lynch doesn't care what's signed for WrestleMania because there is plenty of time left before then, and she's willing to face Shayna whenever she wants it. The final segment of the show sees Edge come out, cutting an emotional and unscripted promo giving his feelings about his return to the ring at the Royal Rumble. Edge took it back to his livelihood being taken away from him 9 years ago through no choice of his own, and said that returning to the ring meant everything to him. And that's what last night was all about. First time, it hadn't been on his own terms, and it had weighed on his mind every day since. But last night he got closure, and short of winning the whole thing, he couldn't think of a better way to go out. This segment was designed to lead fans to believe that the return was only a one-off and that Edge would be staying retired, closing out his career on his own terms at the Royal Rumble. Edge's night wasn't done there, however, as Seth Rollins came out with Buddy Murphy and AOP, they of course having a dominant night, having taken out Aleister Black, KO and Samoa Joe. Seth Rollins cackled as he made his way back to the ring, saying that fairy tale endings don't happen in the WWE. Edge may want to end his career on his own terms, but Seth says that isn't gonna happen. Looking to make a statement, Seth Rollins ordered his 3 followers to attack Edge in the ring, the commentators putting over the disgusting actions of the group. The 3 men then dragged Edge out of the ring, Rollins directing them to the top of the stage. There, Randy Orton came out to try and aid his helpless friend, but was quickly dispatched of by the group. Like Kevin Owens, Samoa Joe and Black earlier, the numbers were just too much for anybody who tried to stop them. Continuing, Rollins had Akam and Razor lift Edge up while Buddy Murphy cleared the commentary table. Rollins and AOP then hit a huge triple powerbomb to Edge through the announcers table, which of course would have been cushioned to dull the impact and to try and protect Edge as much as possible. Nonetheless, Edge laid out cold in the rubble of the table, medical personnel and his wife rushing out to tend to him while Seth's group were ushered to the back. An ambulance was then backed into the arena as the commentators put over the well-documented neck injuries that ended Edge's career the first time round. Edge was then loaded into an ambulance and driven out of the building, the Raw after Rumble going off the air with a very somber tone and grave concern for the health of Edge. So the show gets only a 68C+, the reason being that the WWE don't have enough interesting storylines. With this only being a one-off, that obviously doesn't matter. I probably should have turned strict storylines off for this, but that is, I suppose, through the medium of TEW, how I would like to see Raw go tonight, how I would book the show if I was in charge. Increasing our popularity in 3 regions and losing us in 23 regions probably shows why I'm not in any actual booking position.